cars just flew out of the hood. I don't know if you saw that, but they just went flying everywhere. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm here with James and his 2008 Shelby GT500. We got our cars together. Today we're gonna get together and talk to him about the specifics about his car, why he decided to go with an 08 GT500 and what's done to the car, his plans moving forward with the car, and then we might also take the chance to swap cars. So I'm gonna drive his car, and then he's gonna hop behind the wheel of my 2012 Shelby GT500, and then try to get an idea on the difference between how his car drives versus how my car drives, and kind of give like an onboard perspective of each car. So also too, if you're watching this and you're not subscribed and you want to see more Shelby and GT500 content, do me a favor and hit subscribe. All right, so I'm here with James. We originally met, what, like a month and a half ago. We did the laps for charity here at the Speedway. We got talking about our cars. Side note, if you hear all those cars in the background, they're doing some sort of lap thing. I don't know if they're preparing for the NASCAR All-Star race. I believe that's here next weekend, so I think that's what you guys are hearing in the background. But anyway, we met here at the Speedway for the laps for charity event, and I've always liked the 07, 09 GT500s, and my nephew actually has this exact same car, same color, same spec, but it's 07. It's the exact same car. So I've always had a heart on for these cars. I like them. But anyway, we were hoping to get together and talk about his car and talk about what's done to the car, and I guess plans moving forward with the car.
Okay, so obviously it's an 08. I bought the car modified already. Has a cold air intake, throttle body, has a smaller pulley, a supercharger, and it has a tune, I guess, from Bama Performance. I don't know.
Well, if that's the case, you might want to look into others as well.
I did install a short throw shifter because I absolutely think the ones from the manufacturer are atrocious.
Yeah.
So I went with a MGW shifter, and I love like the crispness of it.
Oh, that's what I got in this
stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely love that about the car. So reason I got the 08, well, obviously I'm a Mustang fanatic.
Yeah, right.
So this is my 4th Mustang I've ever owned, and I basically just went from the lower grades all the way up to the top.
Yeah.
And well, I used to work at a Ford dealership. And
so you got this at the dealership?
Yeah.
Nice.
And so yeah, I mean, it came through the shop, and I was like, wow, I'm gonna go look at that car.
Yeah.
Went to the salesman, grabbed the keys from it, took it for a spin. I was like, I want this car.
And how long have you had it now, you said?
I've had it for 2 years.
Okay.
Since January of 2020, right before the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So you put the short throw on it, so, and it's got a tune on it, and you're not quite sure what the tune is? Or you said it's Bama?
I think it's Bama.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, I'm not going to talk bad about Bama, but there is other options out there if that is the case.
I've been looking at Lund or maybe HP tuners or something like that.
Definitely. So yeah, let's take a look around. Let's open up the hood.
All right.
Okay, so is there anything specific under the hood that's done besides the? I see you have the throttle body.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the cold air intake came with the car, throttle body, and a smaller pulley, I should say.
Okay.
It looks stock.
It's the factory one.
It looks factory, but it's smaller.
Okay, so I had, before I decided to go with the VMP Gen 2R, I did a smaller pulley on mine, and I think it had the exact same size as yours because it looked like an OEM one.
Yeah.
I think I can't remember what the factory size is.
It's like 3.
It's like a 3.0 or something. I think you might have a 2.7 or 2.8, maybe. If you have an idea.
I guess.
Okay.
Luckily, I was cool with the salesman that took this car as trade, and he got in contact with the customer, and they provided me with the build sheet, so to speak. Okay. And he said a 2.5 pulley on there.
So it's got the 2.5 on. Okay, so as far as, you know, it's got the cold air intake, obviously the throttle body, supposedly a 2.5 pulley. It has factory exhaust, factory headers.
It's got factory exhaust manifolds. Okay. It has the Roush performance exhaust on there. So, man, it sounds pretty cool.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I want to change it or not, because I want to put headers on there. I'm like, man, this thing's pretty loud as it is.
Well, wait till you go for ride mine or you drive it, man. It's like, obviously you've heard it, but headers and X-pipe, if you go catless or high flow cats, man, it's almost, for me, it's almost like too loud, but it's like, it's got a good tone. You know what I mean? Like it's good. So. Well,
I have tinnitus in my ears from my days in the military, so I can't go too loud or else it's just a ringing in my ears.
Okay, so what plans going forward, if any? Did you have any with the
right now,
car for upgrades or anything you plan on?
Well, definitely because of the Texas heat
exchanger.
The heat exchanger,
sure.
Definitely. And probably a bigger coolant tank for the supercharger.
Yeah.
I've heard from many different people that have Shelbys is that extra coolant helps.
Like a larger tank?
Yeah. Probably aluminum drive shaft as well.
Yeah, see, mine's still factoring in mine. With the heat exchanger on mine, I haven't had any like heat soak issues so far. I mean, I know these cars are like super prone for heat soak, and since I moved down here, I mean, I'm not super hard on the car, but you know, obviously I've done pulls on the car and stuff. I haven't had any heat soak issues, like severe heat soak issues. I know when it's hot out like this and we go do highway pulls or anything like that, it's obviously gonna have some kind of heat soak issues, and it's gonna pull timing. But those are, I think, right around like $800 or $900 bucks.
It's
not super expensive, but it's something I would definitely recommend for sure.
I would like to get, lower it a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna mention something about your gap here.
Yeah.
You could, I mean, you're like 12 inches of gap there almost. I'm just kidding. So,
well, the idea is to pay it off mostly first before we go super nuts with it.
I got the iBox Sport lines on mine, and I think mine's like almost too low, but I think it sits perfectly. But you saw in my last video I did, I was talking how I have the LTH X-pipe, and that sits lower than the factory one.
Yeah. And
that's like 3 inches off the ground when you combine the X-pipe and my Sportline springs. So I mean, Sportlines are awesome. The Pro kit's not quite as aggressive as these. So I mean, this depends on what you choose, but I would definitely, I mean, that's the one thing about these cars, man, is
like the biggest dings I get.
The factory gap is ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm sitting in the seat of James's car. I've never driven an 07, 09 GT500. I've obviously sat in them before and stuff like that, but as far as I remember, I don't think I've ever driven an 07 to 09. So we're swapping cars. So obviously I'm gonna be driving his a little bit. We're gonna go down the highway, and I just want to kind of get the comparisons between how each of the two drive. His car is not stock. He's got a 2.6 pulley on it. It has a tune, supposedly a Bama tune. If that's the case, I'll help you find some other options, because it's basically stock with the Bama tune. Anyway, so wanted to get my impressions of his car, how it feels and everything like that, and then when we come back, I'm gonna let him drive mine. And
that's like unheard of in the car world.
So see, that's another thing. I've never,
like an unwritten rule.
I've never let anybody drive my car other than my wife, and she hasn't even driven on a public road. And I let my sister drive it years ago, and that wasn't on a public road. So you would be the first person I've ever let drive my car on a public road, and I barely know you, but I think we'll be friends. This is fine. So, but a lot of trust in you. But yeah, so I'm gonna take this down the highway, then we'll come back and he'll switch and he'll go for a ride in mine.
All right.
This thing's very notchy. It feels a lot like mine. It feels identical. It rides nice.
So we got Aaron here. I don't know if he likes to be called Aaron. He's driving my Stallion. I call it Venom.
So you have the factory clutch in this, you said?
I'm going to assume that the factory clutch is in this car. This is my first GT500 ever owned, and up until like a year ago, I learned that these things have dual clutch discs in them.
It's funny, as I was pulling out of the parking lot in this thing, I'm so used to driving like my car that's like slammed to the ground. It's just a few inches off the ground, and I'm like taking stuff at angles and like going sideways over stuff, and then I realized, oh, his car's like 12 feet off the ground. I don't have to worry about that. So it's definitely something you gotta be used to.
Yeah. But as far
seriously,
as
you should get some springs, man. This
yeah,
is,
well,
you can go off-roading with this thing.
When LMR hosted their event,
last
at
October?
the Speedway, I ran it on that road course just for fun, and I realized, yeah, I definitely need a better suspension setup, because this stock stuff ain't gonna work, because you can feel the
body roll. I can feel it now just going around this corner here.
Yeah.
The gearing in this, what is it? 331s?
331s,
okay.
yeah.
Because it feels longer than mine.
Yeah.
I'm pretty used to your clutch, man. It has a different release point.
Yeah.
You have a lot louder supercharger whine.
That's probably the difference.
Yeah.
Well, ours
The 07 and 09 blowers, the factory ones, they do have if you go obviously with a smaller pulley like what you have in this, it is substantially, like you can hear it over what it would be if it was factory. Alright, got a little bit of opening there. I wasn't full throttle. I don't want to go full throttle on yours.
Go for it. I'm
just being respectful. Like, that was like maybe 80%, like 70% throttle probably.
I'm giving you permission. Because mine has way less horsepower than yours, so go nuts.
The one thing I will say about this car over mine, my first initial thing that I can tell, the front end of this car does feel heavy.
Yeah.
It has, I know the 07, 09s with that iron block, they're like, I think it's 102 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
Over the aluminums that come in the 11s.
Yeah.
Well, the 2011s on up, obviously. They're about 102 pounds heavier comparing the two. And then obviously people like to pull out in front of you. Got a nice opening. Slouch, man. This is nice.
Yeah.
I'll be honest though, I do want to get a second car for the channel. I want to obviously keep mine. I wouldn't mind having an 07, 09.
They're worth it.
The price you paid for yours compared to what I can get one now. Obviously, I can't get one for what you paid.
Yeah. So if anybody's wondering, since he brought that up, I paid $19,000 for this car.
That's such a steal. You have what, 40,000 miles on it?
Yeah.
Jesus.
And
my nephew, Austin, if you're watching this, yours is 07, so it's a year older. I know you paid more than that. I'm not going to say exactly what you paid, and the mileage is right around the same, 40-ish something thousand, right? Is that what you said?
yeah.
Yeah, it's right here. Okay, no, 50,000. Okay, so it's a little bit more on the mileage, but that's a steal. I want to drive a GT500 when I'm not driving my GT500. And it's a good platform. It's nice. You can daily drive these, and I want to have one and start like from stock and just have it build from stock. Because I started my channel after I did basically almost everything to the car. I should have started it like a lot earlier, or started the channel a lot earlier, because a lot of that stuff I did, like I said, before I started the channel. How does it feel sitting in the passenger seat when someone's? Is this like the first time
No.
you sat passenger seat?
I want to say this is probably my third time to ever sit in a passenger seat.
They feel different for sure when you're sitting in the passenger seat.
Yeah. You can definitely feel the horsepower and the torque of the car just kind of pushing you in your seat.
it's a different feel when you're
Yeah.
You can definitely feel the body roll in these when you're taking a slight corner.
That's kind of the fun part, is you can feel everything.
Well, that has to do with the fact that your car's like got the factory suspension and it's like so high off the ground. It has. All I got into mine is the iBox Sport lines. I don't have anything else in mine. It's still all factory, but just the springs alone make a big.
Yeah. I've looked into what kind of suspension I'd like. I want to stick to as much Ford as possible, like maybe a Ford Racing suspension, or even Roush.
Yeah.
So I know they make great things, and the suspension is specifically tuned for that car.
Right.
So I know I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for that.
Speaking of tunes, if you decide to go have it tuned on a dyno, from experience, I would recommend HPP Racing out here in the Dallas area. That's where I got my car tuned at, because I had a VMP tune on mine, which VMP is awesome. It's not bad at all whatsoever, but it's definitely leaps and bounds above American.
Well, it's good to have
and all those companies.
It's good to have a local tuner.
But he's very well known in the area. He does a fantastic job, and I gained over 100 foot-pounds of torque having the same mods, and I gained 40 real horsepower. So I gained 40 horsepower, 100 foot-pounds of torque by just going to Manny over at HPP Racing.
Yeah.
So I mean, from my experience, that's what I would recommend. So from here, we're driving back. We're gonna swap cars. He's gonna get behind the wheel of mine, and hopefully everything will go good. So we're pulling back to the parking lot. We're gonna swap cars. All right. So this is new for me. I'm sitting in the passenger seat. He's first time he sat in Recaro seats. You got it? Yeah. Okay, there we go. So the only time I've been in the passenger seat of my car was when, like I said, when my wife drove it, but that was not on a public road, and then I had my sister drive it as well. So this is the first time I've had another guy driving my car. So
one that's not a DD.
yeah, right. All right, so we're gonna go back out on the road. He's gonna get a feel for the car and kind of see how it is compared to his car and what he likes or doesn't like about it. I did say that the one thing I could instantly tell with 07, 09s, obviously, like I said, the front end of those does feel a lot heavier. I think they come like 100-something pounds heavier comparing the 07 to 9s to the 11s on up. So yeah, we're gonna go on the road. So off the bat, how does the clutch and everything feel compared to yours?
Where it disengages and engages is way different.
Right? That's what I was. Yeah, that was my
like
first initial reaction.
I'm so used to, because my clutch, it disengages closer to the floor.
Yeah.
As compared to yours, it's
a lot higher up.
Higher up. So it's definitely getting used to.
Yeah.
So far, driving impressions, even on these small turns, I can definitely tell my suspension is way tighter.
Yeah.
Like not as much body roll. Of course, I mean, we are kind of going at slow speeds-ish, but you can definitely tell the difference.
Given it's not a stock versus stock comparison, because clearly it's not stock, but all I've done to it is the springs, and you could like instantly tell it's lots different.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's torquing out.
Yeah.
It's was that third gear?
That was fourth gear.
That was fourth gear and like a baby pull.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thoughts?
I want to do it again.
Okay.
Well, there's some lines of cars behind us.
I know.
It's like, man,
we'll flip back around.
Flip around right here. I don't care what anybody says, man. Like, automatics are, they're faster for the quarter mile or whatever.
You can keep going straight and you'll flip around over there.
Yeah, I don't care what any of y'all out there says, like, about automatics being faster in a quarter mile.
A manual's just a lot more fun.
Manuals are way more fun. It seems like you can
like what it did with you there too, man. It put a smile on your face.
Yeah.
It was just a baby fourth gear pull, and you saw it's the instant. It's like a giggle factor. It's like puts a big old fucking grin on your face. Yeah, just flip around right here.
It's just something about like that direct power torque to the wheels, and you can feel it. But it just seems with like automatic, even the new GT500s, like those things are way more power than.
And those transmissions are freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Like, but it's not the same. Whoa! Woo! See what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh shit! America. 8 massive bald eagles just flew out of the hood. I don't know if you saw that, but they just went flying everywhere. Alright, so what's your thoughts?
The power and the way it handles is night and day difference between my, I'm gonna say stock setup for suspension wise. Power.
You're a little bit more than factory power. You said you're putting just over 500 of the wheels?
Yeah, about 511, 512
Okay,
is what the dyno was.
So the factory crank is 500, so the factory wheel, I think, maybe 440, 430, somewhere around there for the factory. So with the pulley and throttle body and intake, that would probably be about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And according to like the dyno sheet, the technician running the thing, he estimated the car probably around 600 at the crank.
At the crank, yeah.
So, I'm like, wow.
So if you're right around there at 600 at the crank, I'm a little over at or a little or above 800 crank, because I was 705 to the tire when it was about 80 to 85 out, and it was humid as hell. The car was already hot. So that's a little over a difference of 200 horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't go full throttle. He didn't like wrap it out or anything like that. But you could. That's the difference of like 200 horsepower.
Yeah.
So, are you plans on keeping the supercharger stock, or do you want to upgrade to something else, or what's your plans with that?
I'm probably gonna upgrade it eventually.
What would you want to get?
I don't know. It's probably between the VMP Gen 3R.
Okay.
Or the Whipple.
I got the Gen 2R on this, and the reason why I went with the Gen 2 versus the Gen 3 is a couple reasons. One, I got this right after the Gen 3Rs came out, so the prices here on the Gen 2Rs was pretty good. I couldn't pass it up. And to do the Gen 3 and Gen 3Rs, you got to modify a little bit to have it fit, I guess. And I didn't want to have to like drill out anything to have it fit. With the Gen 2Rs and the Gen 2s, it's just a basic bolt-on type of setup. And two, the factory the factory engine that this puts out, it doesn't matter if you go Gen 2R or Gen 3R.
Mm-hmm.
It's the power capability of those is more than what the factory engines can handle anyway.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it didn't matter if we went with the Gen 3R or Gen 2R. It's the overall potential is more than what this engine can handle anyway. So
I mean, I've even kind of played on putting the 5.8 Trinity supercharger on it, because I've seen many videos.
It's the same size. It's the 2.3, and this is a 2.3 also as well. But there's like significant upgrades on it, but it's a lot cheaper of an upgrade.
Yeah.
You can get those for a decent price now for sure.
Yeah.
So if you ever want to, if you ever get bored with your car's power, or if you just get bored driving the car, let someone else drive the car and hop in the passenger seat. Completely different experience, in my opinion, because you're like not in control, and it's definitely a different vibe and feel if you slide in the passenger seat of your own car. So again, man, I appreciate you getting together and letting me drive the car. We should definitely get together a lot more often. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and close this out. If you guys are watching this and you're not subscribed, do me a favor, hit subscribe, drop a comment if you want to see more Shelby and GT500 content. So again, man, I appreciate you.
Yeah.
You guys have a good one. We'll catch you guys next one. See ya.